Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you might be. Thank you for joining us for episode 2 of 9-Inch Fails. This is the show where we just take movies that we really like and that most people hated and talk about them, as well as movies that we hated that most people liked. Now, it doesn't have to be like oh, everybody loved it. It could be like the majority of the people loved it and we hated it. So and we all have our movies that we brought with us. Let me introduce you to my esteemed panel of nerds, which is the returning Christine. Welcome back.
Yeah.
And of course, the man of zeal himself, Zamario.
Howdy.
All right, so let's just jump right into it. Let's do Zam first. Let's do movies that, and I think Christine, you only have one movie, right? You have one movie that you hate that everybody loves.
I mean, at the top of my head, yeah.
Okay, and that's fine. So we'll put you in the middle. So then you're kind of like our pivoting point into the.
Yeah.
All right, Zam, we'll start with you. What is a movie that you absolutely hate that everybody loves?
Okie dokie. First of all, I just want to say I don't absolutely hate this movie. I just don't think it's as good as everybody thinks it is. And that movie is The Dark Knight. Now, one thing the film was initially more superior than its predecessor of Batman Begins was I thought the fight scenes were a lot better in this movie. But at the same time, the first, Batman Begins felt like an origin story that wasn't trying to be two things at the same time. It did feel like a decent dark origin story, a bit more gritty, a bit more grounded, but still a superhero story nevertheless. And in Dark Knight, they're trying to play a bit more on the realism, and when they had to go with the comic bookness, it just felt out of place. Like the part where you got Joker on that trailer shooting rocket launchers at the Batmobile and all of that. It just didn't. I didn't feel right. The bit with the dogs as well felt a bit stupid and all of that. And some of the scenarios I didn't like. People complained about Spider-Man 3 having Venom at the end. Well, we finally got Two-Face at the end, and a character like Two-Face who was portrayed so poorly as like another version of Joker by Tommy Lee Jones in Batman Forever needed the portrayal what's the name of the actor? Aaron Eckhart? I forgot his fucking name. But the actor who portrayed him in Dark Knight, he did a good job of portraying the Two-Face character, not just Harvey Dent. But we needed more time with that, and we never got it. He was in, he was out, and that was it. And it just felt, all of this film just felt more than people really loved it. Maybe because Heath Ledger died, and people put more into the film because of that. He did have a great performance as a Joker. There is no doubt about that. But for people to really think this film is an amazing Batman movie, it's just isn't. It's just okay at best. It really is. I actually prefer The Dark Knight Rises more than The Dark Knight. I think that's much better. That's much more comic booky. City under siege and all that shit. Weirdo with a fucking mask and all that, very strong. And I preferred that much more than The Dark Knight. And that's how I feel about it. Like I said, I don't hate it. I just don't think it's all that. And I'm glad they killed off Rachel Dawes.
Okay. So, Christine, what are your thoughts on The Dark Knight?
I mean, I liked the movie. I think that the thing that people liked was the fact that it brought more realism to it, and it wasn't as comic booky as you would think. I don't know. Generally, I like the movie. To be fair, out of the trilogy, the first one is the one that I watched the most, more than once. So I don't know. I only watched it once, so I wasn't like crazy about it. But again, it came with Heath Ledger dying, His performance was really good in this movie. Like, okay, it might, I don't know. Generally, I think it had to do with people liked it due to the performances more than anything else. And let's be fair, Christian Bale, his daddy.
Okay. Well, I mean, The Dark Knight is okay in my opinion. I was not a fan of the Joker originally. I think over the years, as I've gotten older, it's kind of grown on me a little bit, and it might either just be time or nostalgia. I think it was a really great like this is one of those times where I learned my lesson, where it was like I looked at the images of the Joker before it came out, and I'm like, oh god, this is going to be so terrible. I can't even believe it. Like this doesn't even look like the Joker. Oh my god, this will be terrible. And it turned out to be pretty good. I thought Joker was one of the best parts of that movie. So that's kind of one of those moments in my nerddom life where I had to kind of sit back and be like, all right, so don't judge a movie by the first images or whatever. I mean, that's honestly one of the first times where I really felt like I had to eat crow. And I mean, not one of the last, obviously, Christine, but but yeah. So I mean, The Dark Knight was always one of those movies that I thought was well done. Not exactly my cup of tea, but honestly, I think it accomplished what it set out to do, was to put a more realistic tone onto the Batman franchise and to these comic book movies, which I'm not a huge fan of, but if that's what they were going for, which is definitely what Nolan was going for, then they succeeded. So
To be fair, I prefer the more realistic tone to these movies. Like, I don't know. I'm not too crazy about too over the top comic booky fantasy kind of thing. I want it to feel real, even if it's absurd. I want it to feel kind of real.
you want it to feel real
And
in its own universe, right? Or am I misreading that?
no, I want it to feel, plausible. That this is something that could be a real thing and not just, jumped out of a comic book.
Fair enough.
Because it has more of an effect on me when I consider it to be somewhat realistic. And I have the same outlook in video games. Like, this is why I hate all those Asian video games, because those swords are unrealistic. They don't make sense. They don't follow physics. They piss me off. I like realism.
I mean, I get it sometimes. I think that a lot of these movies sometimes do exaggerate the like. I mean, like let's take the Daredevil movie, like with Ben Affleck. I mean, they really, really worked with the wire work there, and it's like Daredevil's supposed to be a normal human with like, like sensory powers. It's not like he's like super strong, super athletic or anything. He's got the sensory powers. And then Elektra is a trained assassin, but still, some of the stuff they were doing in that movie was just way out of their league for a normal person, even a athletically trained normal person. So, and I get what you're saying there. I mean,
It's not even. So it's not even powers. It's more like heightened senses, if anything, if you know what I mean. Like he's blinded and had that chemicals.
Just what you call it, the echolocation. It's something that actual blind
it's
people
been
do.
portrayed both ways. Like it's been portrayed like an enhanced blind person, or like the echolocation has also been there. So I mean,
yeah.
I don't know what the official is. I think the original in the comic book was the echolocation thing, but I think over the years it's kind of moved more into like a super heightened senses, like super heightened remaining senses besides his eyes, and the chemicals kind of enhanced everything else, on top of that. So I mean, you can go either way with it, I think.
Just going back to the Dark Knight, though, the Joker felt more like the Riddler, putting Batman in these fucking scenarios all the time. Save this person, save that person, save the boat with these people in it, or save that, and I didn't like that. And you mentioned grounded in realism, but then you have some of these action scenes like the flipping of the truck and stuff, which just takes away from that. You want to be one or the other, and I don't know what it wanted to be at times. It just felt a bit weird.
Okay. All right. I mean, fair enough. Ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go to mine next. And my movie that I liked that everybody, or no, wait, no, we're doing hated. So the movie that I hated that everyone else liked was The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis and Haley Joel Osment. This movie was so boring and so predictable. And I'm not a huge Shyamalan fan. I mean, I think most of his movies are garbage. The only movie that I ever really liked and got invested in was maybe I didn't even like the Split trilogy or whatever it was called. The Unbreakable trilogy. Those movies were still kind of meh to me.
Unbreakable was good. You like Signs?
Signs is the one that I was kind of like okay with. Like that one.
I like Signs.
Yeah, but every other movie that he's done, like The Happening, and I just, I get that this was his first movie, but it's just to me, this movie was.
I think that was his only movie that amounted to anything. Sorry. I
sat there and I figured it out, and then I was falling asleep, and I was like a teenager when that was happening, like normally, and I mean it. I figured it out. It was boring. It was predictable to me. And I just didn't like it. I mean, Bruce Willis's acting was pretty flat to me, which would be a trend that would follow past this movie with him, because basically
he's not a good actor.
He's not. I mean, I like the Die Hard movies, but like that's about it from Bruce Willis. I'm trying to think of another. I think I like Red that he's in. I think he's in that one too. But I think I like John Malkovich more than I like Bruce Willis in those. But
it was good in Pulp Fiction.
Malkovich is a good actor. Bruce Willis is an action movie star. Mm-hmm. He's not an actor.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like,
there's a film called Day of the Jackal. He played a bad guy. He was good in that.
Which one?
Day of the Jackal. Richard Gere was the good guy, and he played a villainous spy. He was killing people. He was the genuine bad guy of the film, and Richard Gere was trying to catch him. And yeah, he was just killing people left, right, and center. Didn't give a fuck. He was in disguise. He was an assassin who would go into disguise and stuff, and take people out and take their disguises and shit. He was very cold in that movie, but
never heard of it.
Nevertheless, continue.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of Bruce Willis's stuff from this movie on was just very flat and very just Bruce Willis-y, as we all know. Like, I mean, I love a lot of the Die Hard movies, older ones more so than newer ones. But I mean, that Bruce Willis was like died in the early 90s. Like, he just doesn't exist anymore.
I think he's been replaced by a synth.
Fifth Element.
He might be. He might have been replaced by a synth. Who knows? So anyway, I don't have much more to talk about. I don't really have much more to say about The Sixth Sense. I mean, it was boring, predictable, and Bruce Willis was just a snore, like to me. So, Christine, do you have anything to say about the movie?
Well, here's the thing. While I didn't love it, I've only watched the movie once, and I was like, "Wait, what year did it come out?"
99, I think. 98, maybe. I'll double check that while you're going.
Because I'm trying to determine how old I was.
99.
99. So I was pretty much 13 years old at the time when I watched it. I've only watched it once, and I still remember it. I think that says a lot. Like, it had some really memorable moments. That doesn't mean that it's a fucking great ass movie, but it's a memorable movie.
It's only memorable to me because whenever I say I don't like it, everybody says, "Oh, you didn't like The Sixth Sense?" I'm like, no, I really didn't. Like, I mean, they act like it's a cardinal sin.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Zam?
First of all, if you figured out the twist from the beginning, then unfortunately, I think the film would be kind of shit from that perspective.
I don't know if I figured it out from the beginning, but I mean, I was thinking there was an inkling that was what it was. And then when he said, I see dead people, and I think that's right around where it's revealed, right? Or no, that was towards the beginning. See, I haven't watched the movie in forever, but I know that I from what I remember, I just disliked it a lot.
I remember like the reviews for this film, and everyone was going on about the twist. So for me, I had to fucking stay away from this movie, the news of this movie, before watching it, because I didn't want to ruin this fucking twist. So I'm into the film now, and it is a very slow burning movie. There is no doubt about that. Yeah, you're wondering what the fuck is going on all the time, and you think it's more of a character study, and he's going to get this kid back on the straight and narrow and just accept the fact that he can see dead people. And then the twist comes along, and for me, it was brilliant, and it was sad and happy. It was very emotional. The part with it, spoilers here. Bruce Willis is dead in the film, and he's one of the ghosts that Haley Joel is.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that this specific trope has been done before. At least not in the exact way that it was done. Like, oh, the guy's dead all along. Oops, sorry, spoiler. After 25 years.
Yeah, right. If it's more than 2 or 3 years, I think we shouldn't have to do a spoiler alert. I mean, if you haven't watched a movie within 2 or 3 years, you didn't want to see it all that bad.
Anyway, I just want to say that moment where his wife, he communicates with his wife, and while she's sleeping, and like he sees the ring and stuff like that, and it honestly it's almost bringing me to tears right now. It was so beautifully done. It was so emotional. It was so loving that his wife was finding it really hard to get over him, and he thinks that that they're still together and they're just having a fucked up relationship. It was great. It all came together just like that. And
I think it was a bit mindfucky, that part.
It was so lovely as well, and so sad, so happy and sad. Like he was communicating with his wife, and yeah, he's dead. It's it's raw. It's so fucking raw. It gets me right here, man. It really does. It's beautiful, poetically. And that's what killed it for me, man. That bit was amazing. That bit was truly amazing. That final part of the film. I mean, to bring it all together like that, it's such a slow burning film. I give that film credit, but it got me. It got me, and that's all I can say.
In the feels. Well, congrats, the feels, Jason. Yeah. You're making Zam cry.
I know, right?
Dingus. But here's the thing.
I know. I can understand. Sorry.
Would the movie be considered better even if it had a different protagonist, like an actual good actor, for example? Because I'm sorry, but Bruce Willis, I mean, he was there just for name recognition, I believe, and not because of his acting chops.
You know who I want in the role instead of Bruce Willis? Will Ferrell.
Oh God! What the fuck?
Stephen Carell. When he tells him, he's like, when he finds out he's dead, no, God, no.
It's not a comedy, right?
I know, but it's laughable. It is. To me, it's laughable. That's just me, though.
Have you watched it again since you were a child? Because, when you are a teenager, there are certain things that you can't fully grasp, like the thing that Zam described, because keep in mind that Zam, being older than me, he was a bit older when that movie came out, so he probably could understand the emotional part 20s. Of it a lot more than I could.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying it's a terrible movie. I'm just saying I hated it, and this is why. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if people love it, I'm not sitting there saying that y'all, you guys are stupid for loving it. I'm just saying, like, for me, it was boring, predictable, and just Bruce Willis. Just no. That's it. Ready to move on to the next one?
Yes,
Sure.
please.
All right. So now we're going to go to our esteemed guest, Christine. So, Christine, you have a movie that everyone loves and you hate, which is, I think, what we've been doing so far. So, first off, I just want to take a quick minute to say, if you haven't, and if you're watching, we've had a couple people already in here. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And wait till the end of the video. We do have a type of participation for this type of setting. It's a Hall of Fame and Future Endeavors Club type thing. So if you stick around to the end, you'll find out how to play with that. So get involved and participate. All right, Christine, what is your movie that you hate that everybody loves?
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Here's
Which
the
one?
thing.
All of them.
The ones that I've watched. And I've watched the original
Okay.
trilogy. I haven't
Okay,
watched
fair
any
enough.
of the
Okay.
prequels or whatever quels. Here's the thing. I watched them about a bit more than a decade ago. Because I wanted to see what the fuss was about. And I still don't get it. I don't think like that the story is that compelling. I don't think that the universe it's in is that interesting. I don't even think that the characters that were that interesting either. At least most of them. And the one thing that I give it props for is the special effects because for the time the movies were filmed and released, they were pretty impressive. Haven't aged that well, but it's been like 40 years or whatever. So, but yeah, I was not impressed. I didn't find it interesting at all, and there is another thing that really affects my opinion about Star Wars is that a lot of Star Wars fans are just complete and utter cunts. I don't know why, but this affects my opinion a lot too. Do you disagree with that?
I don't know, but I'm more interested in your opinion of the film.
Okay. But yeah, at least the things that I did like about it, because let's not be completely pissing on them. The things that I like about it, the Ewoks were cute.
You know.
Did you say the Ewok?
Yes, that's what she said.
Yes.
Please
well-
don't thumbs down.
And Carrie Fisher was a queen.
Mm.
So yeah. And I did like her character in general compared to most of the others. Like, what's his name? Harrison Ford? Nah. What's his name? Ooh, Mark Hamill. I prefer about everything else that he's done than his Star Wars stint. I know that this is what started him, but he has done a lot more impressive and good things since then. Yeah, I know it's an unpopular opinion. I don't know what people like about this movie, honestly.
That's a great thing. That this whole video is supposed to be unpopular opinions. Period.
Oh yeah.
That's this whole thing. All right, Zam.
Now,
what do you think?
if anyone were to tell me that they don't like The Big Lebowski, for example, I would be throwing hands.
It's a great movie. How can anybody hate that film?
It's the greatest
great
movie
movie.
of all time.
It's one of the best comedies of all time, that's for sure.
Zam, what do you think about Star Wars?
Well, Chris was basically focusing on the original trilogy, so I'm going to try and focus on that too. If you mentioned the prequels and sequels, yeah, I can understand they are pretty shit. But the original trilogy, that's gold. That's gold right there.
What exactly is
I
gold
don't
about
think.
it?
Well, it was very unique for its time when it came out. When I saw it as a youngster, I was I was amazed by the spectacle of it.
Well, yeah, but that's
The
basically nostalgia,
spaceships, the
though.
lasers, the good versus evil. When I was watching it, but even now, when I still watch it now, I mean, it still works for me. It is basically people call it a western in space. I would actually like to call Star Wars, knights in space.
I would agree with that.
Because these guys, instead of like you know, um, the good versus evil part of that. Instead of sword fights, they have lightsaber fights and stuff like that. It was just bringing that element of what we know into science fiction. And hello, Ginger, and I loved it. Carrie Fisher was great, and I sometimes think about Carrie Fisher. If a character who's exactly like Princess Leia was brought into the mainstream now, would people have a problem with that character? Because nobody seems to have a problem with her back then, or people like Ripley and stuff. But I feel that those same characters, some people would have an issue with today, because people do have stupid issues for some reason of strong female characters. And Carrie Fisher was fucking great. She was one of the best things. But my favorite part, you mentioned Harrison Ford being average and stuff. I agree with you. Actually, he's all right. Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill is the best part about the original trilogy. You get three phases of Luke Skywalker in each movie. You get the farm boy, you get the apprentice, and you get the fucking Jedi Knight at the end. And in Return of the Jedi, he's so fucking badass. He epitomizes what it means to be a Jedi in that fucking movie. Just great. And sorry, just to finish off regarding Mark Hamill, to finish off everything here, I'm actually kind of gutted for Mark Hamill as an actor. I really think he should have had a much bigger career, better career than what he ended up having. He's a phenomenally good actor, Mark Hamill, really good, and he deserves better. And he's actually one of the best things, even though he didn't like his performance, you can tell he's a professional. He's one of the best things about the sequel trilogy, Mark Hamill. So Luke Skywalker. So yeah, going back to the original trilogy, I love it. It's one of the best things ever. I mean, Roberto and I were still fucking playing Star Wars all the time when we get a chance. I'm playing that game. Spaceballs is great as well. Spaceballs are great, and so much stuff has come from Star Wars. I mean, after 40 years, over 40. Yeah, go on.
Regarding the lightsabers, remember what I said before about realism and fights and shit like that? This lightsaber is a big part of also why I hate it, because it makes
We are talking science
no
fiction,
sense.
though, Chris.
Yes, but there's no science; it's just fiction.
Yeah, well, it's not
It
really.
doesn't make
It's
sense.
no, but it's mystical science fiction because the Force itself is magic. Yeah, you're mixing mysticism with
No,
science
I'm
fiction.
fine. I'm fine with
It's
the
merging.
Force. I'm fine with the
Yeah.
Force. I'm not fine with the lightsabers. I'm okay with the Force.
Okay. Okay. So you're okay with one type of magic, but not another. And even then, the part which isn't magic is science. It's supposed to be science because they work anyway. Nevertheless, that's my take on Star Wars. I'll throw it to you, Roberta.
Baby, stop laughing.
I agree with Christine on a lot of points with the original trilogy. I don't like the original movie as much as most people do. I'm not even that. I mean, I liked Empire Strikes Back better, but actually, my favorite one is Return of the Jedi. Like, I mean, the original movie was just like, here's a whiny farm boy, here's a stereotypical smuggler who's cocky, here's a walking carpet, and one of the greatest things out of that movie was Princess Leia, because she was like, she was a kick-ass. She wasn't like a princess, like she was like a kick-ass princess, and that was kind of one of the first times you ever saw that in any kind of cinema back then. So I mean, I liked it. I mean, you know, and just so I mean, I feel like the movies, the sequel, the original movies got better as they went along, but that first movie just, I mean, it's kind of like your basic bitch of science fiction. Like, you know, I don't. Yeah, and I didn't like Luke in the first. Don't get me wrong, I love Mark Hamill, but I love him for a lot of the stuff he did after Star Wars. I mean, he was okay. I liked him better in Return of the Jedi than I did and Zam. You say that one of the best parts of the sequel trilogy is Mark Hamill. He's barely in the sequel trilogy. Like, you know, there's so much more I could pull out of the sequel trilogy than Mark. Don't get me wrong, I liked Mark Hamill in the movies he was in, but like, you can't say he's like one of the only good things. I mean, you know, I mean, I
said one of the best things. I never said he was the only good thing. I said one of the best things.
Yeah,
you know, right. And like, you know, the sequel trilogy is not memorable for me, unfortunately. It's for the wrong things. All these new characters that come in. Who the fuck? I mean, look what they've done to Finn. I mean, he should be something really memorable, but no, they just wasted him because they put no effort into developing him in the second in the Last Jedi, and he should have been a fucking Jedi Knight. He should have been a Jedi Knight by Rise of Skywalker. But no, we never got that. We never got that progression. At least with the original trilogy, we got with Finn, and at least with the original trilogy, we got really good progression with Luke Skywalker. He was a bright-eyed nobody in the first film. He was an apprentice in the second, and he was a Jedi Knight by the third. While fucking Rey was badass in all three movies. You know what I mean? It was just ridiculous. There's no progression with Rey. You know, anyway. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck wrong with
I don't know who these people are.
He's talking about you two.
That's okay. We're allowed to have our opinions.
No, I'm talking about the people you were talking about, the movie people from the movie.
No, but you think about the sequel trilogy. I mean, what Kylo Ren's is arguably probably the most memorable of the new characters. But when it came to somebody
Kylo,
who left an impression,
everybody hated Kylo the first two movies.
At first, yeah, they did, didn't they? You know, they're making fun of his chest and shit in Last Jedi and stuff. But Adam Driver's a fantastic actor. And
he is. No. I don't have a problem with Adam Driver. I think he's great. Everybody hated Kylo Ren up until this movie, the last movie. Yes, they did, Ginger. You know what? Listen, Ginger here. Yes, a lot of people hated Kylo Ren. They thought he was whiny, and they thought he was a bitch. And it's just, and how could he lose to Rey and Finn, who have never held a lightsaber? But the dude had been shot by a Wookiee blaster. Like, I agree. I liked Kylo Ren, but the majority of people hated him until like this.
I think it was the first movie. I think it was the first movie. I think he redeemed himself more in The Last Jedi, even though it was because he was quite badass in The Last Jedi. He really was. That was probably one of the best parts about The Last Jedi was Kylo Ren himself.
I think there was a turnaround in The Last Jedi. That.
Yeah. You know, they maimed him, but Kylo is the most likely. But I honestly, Ginger, if you remember, back initially, people were taking the piss out of him, calling him emo Skywalker and shit like that. Initially, you know, he was supposed to be one of the rumors were that he was supposed to be your stereotypical Star Wars fan turned into a Star Wars character, somebody who's never happy, and that's what Kylo Ren was supposed to be initially. But I think if you look at him for 3 films, I think he's fucking fantastic. But yeah, Luke Skywalker for me, man, he's still the Mac Daddy as far as I'm fucking concerned. Yeah, okay. They did meme him. Yeah, they memed him. Yeah, as long as you acknowledge that, that's all good.
All right, so
everyone is memed.
Okay, so
yeah.
I mean, okay, we're talking about the sequels, but we're supposed to be talking about the original. But I mean, with my point, I mean, I agree with Christine with a lot of her points on the original trilogy. It's just there was, I mean, for the time, was it trend setting? Yes. For the time, was it some? Yeah, but does it hold well into today's age? In my opinion, not really. In my opinion, I know Ginger's gonna go hog wild on me with a cactus with no lube, but I mean, whatever. So But anyway, so Christine, I thought that was a lot of fun. I figured that one would be a lot of fun. All right, so now we're gonna move into.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that we're so unknown, because I would get so much hate for that.
Listen, I would listen. These are our opinions. If people don't like them, they can go fuck off. I don't care.
Agreed.
So, all right. So let's move on to the. And Ginger agrees with me for once on something. Thor Ragnarok and that is all we agree.
You agree with him with Thor Ragnarok?
Oh yeah. Oh, you missed it.
You are hereby disowned.
No, if you watch our last video, guess what my disliked video was? Thor Ragnarok. All right. So moving on to the next ones. I'm gonna take the next one for a movie that I liked that everybody really disliked, and mine is Jurassic Park: The Lost World. So Jurassic Park: The Lost World, I'm not saying it's better than the first one. I'm not saying that The Lost World is better than the original Jurassic Park, so don't get that out of your head right now. I didn't hate the movie as much as everybody else did. Most of the people hated it, and yes, I know that there were issues, like the dinosaur running through San Francisco or San Diego, wherever they were. I just didn't hate it as much. I enjoyed watching the whole island with no barriers type thing, where it was Dino Island basically. And I enjoyed watching it. I liked it when they had like the whole dual T-Rex thing with the vans and the trucks and all that. And especially with the, in the raptor parts towards the end of the end of the second act. I really enjoyed that, where the raptors were. You know what, Ginger? Sorry, I was reading what Ginger was saying. He is right. I like most shit that everybody else hates. So that's why this format's perfect for me, because I have a plethora of things I can talk about. So yeah, I mean, I like Jeff Goldblum. I admit his daughter was a little annoying. But I mean, and then you got Julianne Moore, who's always great. I love her. Vince Vaughn was in this movie before he was annoying.
Vince Vaughn, yeah.
I don't think I ever watched
young
that.
Vince Vaughn.
I'm not a fan of Jurassic Park in general either.
You what?
I have many unpopular opinions, man.
I mean, but that's what I'm saying. Like, this is a place for unpopular opinions. I'm sure I'm going to get hate for this, and I don't really care, because this is my opinion, and whatever. Anyway, okay, so. But that's really it. I mean, I enjoyed a lot of the parts. I think the beginning dragged a little bit, but I mean, I think they would have been better served if they did cut a little bit, like a lot of that stuff in the beginning out, and just kind of streamlined it to them getting to the second island, to the island of that movie. But yeah, so Christine, what do you think about Jurassic Park: The Lost World?
I haven't watched it.
Okay.
I've only watched the first Jurassic Park movie. Didn't care for it. And then I don't care about this franchise.
All right, fair enough. Zam,
Not
what's your thoughts?
Okay, I'm having to really think back, but it's been many years. I think I haven't seen this film for a good 15 years since I've last seen this movie. But it's never going to be as good as Jurassic Park, and I think everybody knew that straight off the bat. It was never going to be as good. But would it be memorable? Unfortunately, I don't think it is. But it's an okay film for what it's worth. It had some good moments. I don't think it ended well. That was the problem with Jurassic Park 2. It didn't end well. They had to go down a different beat to a degree, not make it a theme park and make it something else, like an expedition, so to speak. Kind of didn't know. The characters just felt very hollow in that movie, and we didn't get Sam Neill reprising his role in that movie.
Which was really sad.
Jeff Goldblum. We got Jeff Goldblum instead, and it felt a bit weird for him to lead this movie, considering he was sidelined in Jurassic Park. So that felt a bit weird as well. And obviously, I knew that he brought his daughter along, because we need a kid in the film to give us more things to be scared about and shit like that. And the raptor scene The raptor scene just felt like something they pulled out from the first movie and this like redesigned for this movie. It didn't feel original. But the bit I like the most, my favorite part of the film, is the trailer is getting destroyed by the T, and one of their friends tries to save them. He ends up getting eating the car to keep the trailer from falling off the edge of the cliff. And then I think Julianne Moore's character falls on the glass, and you see the glass breaking, and then they hold on to some sort of rope or some shit like that, and then the trailer goes through them and crashes. That was a great part of the film. I still remember that scene to this day. It's fantastic. But other than that, the film wasn't that too memorable. Don't hate it, don't love it.
Okay. All right. So, Zam, let's move on to your movie that you like that everybody else dislikes.
Okay, now this film, a bit like Dark Knight, is not necessarily hated by everyone, but I don't think people think it's fantastic either. I actually loved this movie when I first saw it when I was young. As I got older, I thought to myself, this film is actually kind of stupid. But now I look back at it again, and I'm maybe with nostalgia and stuff, but I don't think it is as bad as people thought it was, and it created so many ideas in the in the laws of Spider-Man and what we see in not Spider-Man, in Superman. It's Superman 3, which is the film I'm talking about. But
Which
what
one
came
is
out of this movie? Superman 3, the one with Richard Pryor, the Richard Pryor one.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
is Richard
and
Pryor?
for fuck's sake,
Yeah,
I can't believe she said that, man. Fucking hell. Can you believe that, Ginger? She said, "Who the fuck is Richard Pryor?" I mean, anyway,
I'm not good with names, okay? But I don't believe I watched it. I was never a big Superman fan before times.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But what I'm saying about when I look back at this film now, I realize that this film created, it branched up. People use this film for ideas. That's what I'm saying. And also Robert Vaughn's character. I forget the name of the character he played, Robert Vaughn, but he was more Lex Luthor than Lex Luthor was in the by Gene Hackman. Because if you look at Gene Hackman's character of Lex Luthor, no one really uses that model of Lex Luthor for further Lex Luthors. That character is discarded. That's done by the legendary Gene Hackman. Lex Luthor nowadays is a much more cold and calculated individual, and Robert Vaughn's character was a little bit more like that, and he was more of a Lex Luthor, and so that was one of the best things about it. And obviously, my favorite part of Richard Pryor being in the film was a bit weird, and some of his moments were a bit silly, but my favorite part of Superman 3, I keep saying Spider-Man, I do apologize, is the fight between good Superman versus evil Superman. That bit is just fucking amazing. And so many ideas have come out of that scene alone. And seeing seeing Christopher Reeve playing evil Superman, his acting is so fucking good. And by the time he made Superman 3, he was just Superman, in every sense of the word. And he knew how to play the role, and he played a different part of the role, being evil and stuff. It was so good, making the Statue of Liberty. I'm all over the place with my words there. I do apologize. The Leaning Tower of Pisa, making it straight, blowing up the fucking Olympic flame, all these horrible things he's doing, and then him having to fight himself, and it's just fantastic. The fight at the end was a bit stupid, but I do like this film. I can't say I hate it. It's all right. I like Christopher Reeve's performance. He is truly Superman more than ever in this movie. And this film has a soft spot for me. Like I said, when you see other stuff in Superman films, in Supergirl and stuff like that, you do see stuff they've used from this movie. So this film for me is precious.
Okay. I don't have much to say about Superman 3. It's been many, many years since I've seen it. But I do like, while you're talking here, and a lot of it is coming back to me. But yeah, no, Christopher Reeve is Superman. I love Henry Cavill's Superman, but Christopher Reeve is Superman.
Whatever.
Yeah, Christopher Reeve is 100% Superman.
My brother is named after.
Well, he's 100% dead. Doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, right. Because Chris, in the impact of Christopher Reeve Superman is when I was growing up, I was about 5 when my brother was born, and I wanted to name my brother Superman. So that's what I wanted to name my little brother. And so my grandma had the idea to name him Christopher, based off of Christopher Reeves. So I mean, and that was like, this movie came out in 1983. I mean, this, the whole good Superman versus bad Superman, although it'd probably been done in the comics, it was probably something very trend-setting back then. So I mean, I agree. It's not one of those movies that I absolutely hate, or one of those movies that I would absolutely go back to a bunch. But I mean, it kind of makes me want to watch it again. It's been so long since I've watched it. It kind of makes me want to go back and watch it again. I'll tie Ginger down and make him watch it. I'll fly over there and make him watch it with me. Tape his eyes open.
No, I can understand, like, some of the comedy in the film was ridiculous, like Richard Pryor being this computer genius, which he never realized he was, because he just took up a random computer job, and next thing you know, he's a computer genius, which is a bit weird. But nevertheless, what he did with the computer is that he made the Green Man and the Red Man fight each other. That was stupid. They did not need to put that in the film. And sometimes in all the Superman films, Superman 2 did that with the fight against Zod and his minions. They had some stupid comedy elements where this guy's on the phone and the fucking phone booth is blowing away and shit, and he's still on the fucking phone. I mean, stuff like that is stupid, and I hated Superman when they do stuff like that. They're putting comedy in really serious elements of the film. Makes no fucking sense. But other than that, I've kind of lost my train of thought a little bit. But yeah,
I disagree with that. I think that adding a bit of comedy to everything is a good thing. It keeps it real,
If the comedy
Comedy
just
is life.
it felt like Saturday Night Live comedy. Not even that. It felt like the Naked Gun style sort of comedy, for Superman, and you got these 3 Kryptonians who are about to destroy the whole of Earth, and then you're putting this, it just like this bit of comedy which was very slapstick. It wasn't like a sort of like a witty humor, sort of verbal. It was a visual slapstick reference, of a guy still on the phone as the phone booth is being blown off, and he's laughing and stuff, and it just felt so stupid. And Superman itself had.
But I mean, it's a
but Superman itself.
The
but
whole
they've had these.
premise is silly.
Even comic books can be. Yeah. Well, I didn't like Man of Steel because you had something at the end of the movie which was worse than 9/11, and yet everyone just kept going on with their lives like this whole city wasn't fucking destroyed. And I find that weird how they just continued their lives at the end of Man of Steel like nothing had going on. But that was my problem with that film. But yeah, like I said, the comedy, some of the comedy in the Christopher Reeve movies just felt out of place. I don't think they had much comedy in the first one. By the way, they never had that sort of level of comedy in the first one, but it was only the second and third one did, especially the third one. The third one really went for jokes. Fourth one, shit.
And we're not going to talk about the fourth one.
There was
Oh my god! Oh, it's awful.
All right,
The Quest for Peace.
Yeah, and so what is it? Sunman, Sunburn Man? I don't remember.
No, Nuclear Man.
Oh, Nuclear Man, like
Nuclear
Manicure Man. He had like the manicure nail.
Just to quickly go on about that film, there was a part where he was fighting Superman all over the world, and it was always sunlight in those parts of the world because he's Nuclear Man. But I'm thinking to myself, mate, you're in different fucking time zones. You can't be in America where it's daytime, and then you're in fucking the Great Wall of China and it's still fucking daytime. What the fuck? You know what I mean?
Yeah, didn't Superman change the fucking Earth circulation thingy?
But he's just chasing. But he's just chasing this geezer. He's not like changing time. He's just chasing this geezer around the planet. So it should be dark in certain parts of the world, but it isn't because he's fighting a guy who's solar powered, which makes him so fucking weak. It makes him so weak because he's solar powered without sunlight constantly shining on his body. He's fucked. The moment he hasn't got a beam of sunlight on him, he's fucked. He's weak as fuck. And that was Superman's villain. Ridiculous.
Yeah. But we can save that one for a different time.
Yeah. Well,
all right.
If you like it, yeah.
All right, yeah. Or if we hate it, well, yeah. Because somebody has to like it in order to get it on. Because I'm pretty sure everybody hates it. All right, that's it. So what I'm going to explain really quick is, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you. On this video, once it's done processing, we are going to have a poll up in the corner that you can pick which one of our, so the movies that we liked that everyone else hates will go, we're going to vote to see which ones go in the Hall of Fame. And then the movies that we hate that everyone else likes will go into the Future Endeavors Club, which is a wrestling thing. So if you don't know what that is, sorry. And I'm not going to explain it right here. And basically what it is just a way to get you involved. We also have a Facebook, which will be in the description. You can go on there. The polls will be on there. And you guys can just vote. And you guys can see which one. And I actually have it here so from our last video that we did. This is from our last video. We had for the Hall of Fame nominees, we had X-Men 3, which was liked by someone way too young to even like the movie. Mine was, I think, Spider-Man 3, and then Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was Mario's, and everybody voted for Indiana Jones to go in the Hall of Fame. And so last week we had the Future Endeavors, which were movies that people loved that we disliked, and AJ picked Avatar, and everybody voted for Avatar to get Future Endeavored. So, and AJ's here. So anyway, so
No
now
problem, AJ.
and he's hearing it. Good. I want you to hear it, mother. So, and basically that's what happens. And then we have we have a scorecard that we keep. So right now that, if you come on the stream, you get on it. If you vote, you can give us if one of our videos get either in the Hall of Fame or the Future Endeavors Club, we get a point. So right now Zamario has 1 point and AJ has 1 point. Christine did not pick a movie. She only had the movie that she didn't bring a second movie, which is fine. We just
I don't know, man. I just don't. I don't care what people think. I'm not a big fan.
So it's okay. So there will be 2 movies to vote for. There'll be 2 movies to vote for the Future Endeavors Club. There'll be 3 to vote for the Hall of Fame. So if you guys do that, thank you so much for participating. And that's it for this Future Endeavors Club, this 9-inch fails, which is I'm gonna take us out here. Do you guys have anything else to add?
If it's not 9 inches, I'd hardly call it a fail, but you do you.
Well, I like the fact that the film that I liked, that not everyone likes, Indiana Temple of Doom, is in the Hall of Fame. And I like the fact that the film AJ disliked, that everyone kind of liked, Avatar, which I thought was average at best, is in the Future Endeavors Club. So everyone's happy because everything's in the right place.
Yep. So
so
what that basically means is if they're in the Hall of Fame, they're immortalized. They can't be distributed, or they can't be disputed. If they're in the Future Endeavors Club, we cannot use them in this format ever again. So they are Future Endeavored. They are gone. They are dead to us. Who disliked us?
There's always
Everybody
someone who
dislikes us. AJ, come on, you know this. Everybody hates us.
We've got a thumbs down on this video.
Well, that happens. Everybody give a thumbs up if you like it, and if you don't, well, screw you too. So anyway, that's it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Christine, for joining us. Zam, as always, it's a pleasure. And I guess we'll see you guys on the next one.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.